In this video you will learn how to create an interactive calendar inside Angular without any additional libraries. And this is how it will look like. So we have our calendar where we can select any date, we can jump to previous or next month, we can jump to today, and we can also see meetings which are planned for this specific day. And in order to implement this calendar, we still will use a library, but not that will give us a UI. It doesn't make any sense to use default JavaScript dates because it is not comfortable to work with them. I highly recommend you to look on the library which is called Luxon, and it simplifies working with dates a lot. As you can see, here is an example. We can write date time now, set zone America New York, -1 week, end of day 2 ISO. So even if you don't know how Luxon is working, you can understand what we're doing here quite easily. First of all, we're trying to get time now, then we're adding a zone to this time. Now we want to change the day to -1 week, then we want to get end of day and convert it to a string. This is how easy Luxon is. This is why we will heavily use it in this video. As I already generated an empty Angular application, we must write npm install Luxon to add it to our application. But it is not enough, we also want a TypeScript support for the Luxon. This is why let's write here npm install types Luxon -d, so only for dev development. Now let's look on our code. As you can see, app component is completely empty, but I imported here our future calendar component from the calendar folder. Inside my HTML, I simply render calendar component, nothing else. Let's look on calendar component. Yes, this is a completely empty component without any logic. Inside HTML, we don't have anything, but inside CSS, I prepared lots of styling that we will use for our project. And as always, you can download the source code of this course, which includes this CSS file, in the description box below. Now we're ready to start implementing our project. And first of all, I want to prepare several states for our application. And I will heavily use here signals because it is much easier to write code with them. First of all, what we need here is a reference to today. This is why here let's create a today, which will be a signal of date time. And here I want to assign a signal with datetime.local. So what is this? Datetime is coming from Luxon, as you can see here. And by calling local, we're getting the current date. As you can see on the official Luxon website, we can write luxon.datetimeLocal. We're getting the object with lots of properties, and if you want to check how it looks like, we can just write toString. So this is the object that we created, and now we're storing it inside our signal. The next thing that we need is the first day of the month. Why is that? Because essentially we want to render on the screen the whole month, and it will be much simpler if we know the first day of the month. So let's create here first day of active month variable. And here we want to not create a signal, but a writable signal. Why is that? Because we want to update this variable later. I'm sorry for interruption, but I just wanted to let you know that only 20% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed to the channel. If you really want to continue getting videos and support my channel, consider subscribing. It helps a lot. Now let's jump back into the video. So let's create here a writable signal of date time again. And here we're assigning our signal. And we can use here this dot today with round brackets because this is a signal dot. And as you can see, we have lots of properties from Luxon to read. But what we want to use here is start of month. So what it does, it will return for us start of month from today. And we can easily test it in the official website. I can write here start of and then provide inside month, and we're getting the start of April. Another thing that we can get from Luxon is all names of the days of the week. So here we can write luxon.info.weekdays with round brackets, and as you can see, we're getting a nice array with labels for every single day. But we don't need them like this, we want short, because this is how we're rendering them in the calendar. This is why here I can copy this line and create one more signal, weekdays, and it will be a signal not writable, because we never change it, and this is an array of strings. And here I want to assign a signal by calling info weekdays short. We already created several variables, but now we need to do some really heavy lifting. We must create an array of dates of this current month. And Luxon can do it really easy because we can create an interval between 2 days. This is why here let's create days of month, and this is a signal because we don't update it with date time array, and this is actually a computed because we are computing it based on first day of active month. This is why inside we are providing a function, and here we want to return an interval. And interval is coming from Luxon, and we have here from date times. So from date times accepts 2 dates and it returns an interval in between. This is why here we can use this first day of the month with round brackets dot start of week, and here this dot first day of the month with round brackets end of month and end of week. And it is important because we are not rendering our month strictly from the first day, we are rendering from the beginning of the week. So we also want to get dates from the previous month and next month. This is why here we used start of week and also end of week. And this returns for us an interval. But interval is not what we want. This is why we want to split it by a day. Then we are getting an array of dates. So here I want to say that we are splitting it by 1 day. And after this we want to map it. Here I just want to return d.start. But as you can see, it does not work because it might be that we are getting null. This is why inside our map we need to check that we have d.start and it does not equal null. So if it equals null, we want to throw here an error, wrong dates. As you can see now we don't have a TypeScript error, and this must be for us an array of dates. Let's check if it's working. I want to create here a constructor and simply console log this dot days of month with round brackets. As you can see in browser, we are getting an array of date time, which is a Luxon date, and we are getting every single date inside. This is exactly what we wanted, because this is the most comfortable way for us to work with it. Now we are ready to write our markup. Let's jump to our HTML and start typing. So first of all, we have a class calendar container, and inside we have a div with class calendar. First of all, we have a div with class calendar headline, and on the left we have a div with class calendar headline month. And here we want to render our month that is currently opened, and we can do that by using first day of active month because we have all the information inside. So we are calling first day of active month, and this is a datetime dot, and here we have month short. After this we can put comma and also render first day of month with round brackets dot year. As you can see in browser, we successfully rendered April 2024. After this we want to render our controls, so here div class calendar headline controls, and inside we will have 3 divs. So each of them will have calendar headline control. The first one will have an arrow to the left, then we will have a word today, and an arrow to the right. Additionally to that, here on today we will have a class calendar headline control today. As you can see in browser, we successfully rendered today and 2 errors. After our headline, we want to render the grid with our weekdays. This is why here div with class calendar weeks grid. And that this is an array of strings, we can simply use here a for loop and render a weekday of weekdays. Track by index is totally fine, and inside we can have a div with class calendar weeks grid dash cell. And inside we want to render our property weekday. As you can see, it is red because I forgot to put round brackets here, and we must do that because it's a signal. As you can see in browser, we successfully rendered our strings from Monday to Sunday. After our week grid, we want to render our calendar grid that we prepared. So here let's use calendar grid, and inside we also need a for loop for days of month. So here will be day of month, and here is our array with days of month, and inside we want to render a div with the content day of month dot day. And actually this is really nice because datetime inside Luxon has a reference to the day in the month. As you can see in browser, it was rendered, but styling is not there yet. As we need a lot of dynamic styling, I want to apply here not a class but ng class. And first of all, here we will have calendar grid cell, and it will be always true. As you can see in browser, now it looks much better. Now after our calendar, we can create one more div with class schedule. I'm sorry for interruption, but I just want to let you know that I have a membership here on the channel that you can join to support me. It will give you access to the new videos earlier, emojis and priority replies to your comments. Now let's jump back into the video. But in order to render some meetings inside the schedule, we must provide them from the outside. This is why here I want to jump inside our app component TS and create here several meetings. So let's create here a variable meetings, which will be an object, and every single key will be a date. So here let's create 2024 April 5th. And here will be an array with our meetings. For example, drink coffee, learn React, sleep. Now let's copy paste this date and change learn React to learn Angular. So now we created our meetings, let's provide them inside our component calendar. But obviously it is red, we must prepare to get an input inside our component. So let's jump back inside our calendar, and in order to implement an input, I want to use a required input as a signal. This is why here let's create our meetings, and it will be an input signal, but we did not create a type for it. And as you can see here inside calendar, I have a file meetings interface TS, but it is empty. So now it is time to create here an interface. Let's name it meetings. And we know that this is an object where keys are strings. So key string, and our value is an array of strings. Now we can jump back to our calendar, and inside our input signal, we can say that we are getting our meetings. Now we want to assign here an input dot required, because our component can't really work without these meetings. And if you are curious what this code does, it creates an input as a signal inside our component, and this is a feature of Angular 17. But actually we can't render meetings here on the right without having an active day, because when we didn't select a day, then we can't render here meetings, which essentially means we must have a state for an active day, and then when we click, we are showing the list of meetings for this specific day. This is why here I want to create an active day, and it must be a writable signal because we want to update it. And it must be either datetime or null, and by default it will be null. So here we can write signal null. So by default we don't have an active day, but later we can change it, and then we must render meetings related to this active day. So let's implement exactly this functionality inside our schedule. So first of all, here we have a div with class schedule headline, and inside we need an if condition, and we're checking do we have an active day. Now inside if condition I want to write a div and render active day with round brackets dot to locale string, and inside I'm providing date medium. And actually this date medium is coming from Luxon as well as to locale string. And in order to get this date medium inside our template, we must create here date medium and assign datetime dot date medium. Now we have this variable inside our HTML, and I'm providing it here. But as you can see, here is the problem. My editor put here a question mark because active day must be undefined. But it doesn't really make sense because we're writing this code inside an if condition. In order to fix that, inside our if, we can write as active day. And then this will be a local property, and we can write the code like this. We know that active day is there for sure, and now we're calling toLocale string. And what toLocale string does, it simply renders the date in a string format. But in order to test that, we must implement a click event on our calendar cell. This is why here on our div, I want to create a click event, and we want here to call activeDay.set and provide inside day of month, which actually means with this single line we're updating our signal active day, and then this information will be re-rendered. Let's check if it's working. I'm clicking on 5th, and we rendered here on the right 5th of April 2024. And this is exactly this active day toLocale string date medium. So we rendered an if condition, now we need to apply here else. And here we just need a div with please select a day. As you can see now, we're getting by default, please select a day. Now we're selecting something, and here we see our date. So headline is ready, now we need to render some content. But in order to render a list of meetings, we need some more logic. This is why I want to jump back inside our TS file and create here active day meetings, which will be a signal of an array of strings. And it will be computed because it will be based on the existing signal. So first of all, here I want to get an active day by calling this active day. Now we can check if we don't have an active day, so it equals null, then we're returning an empty array. If it is not null, we need to check if we have such meetings. Just to remind you, inside our app component TS, this is the format. So we want to use this format in order to make a comparison. This is why here, first of all, I want to get an active day ISO by calling activeday.toISODate. And this is exactly that format that you just saw. Now here we can just call this .meetings, this is our array of meetings, with round brackets, and we're trying to get here an active day ISO. In other case, it will be an empty array. So we basically just read an array of strings by some value in the meetings. But it is read because active day ISO can be undefined, so we must write here an additional if condition. So if we don't have active day ISO, then we want to return here an empty array. Now it is green and our TypeScript does not scream at us. Now we have our active day meetings, which is a signal of array of strings, and we can render them in our HTML. So inside the div I want to check with if condition that I have an active day and I also have an active day meetings. But if the length of them is 0, then I want to render inside a div that we don't have any meetings. So for example, no planned meetings today. Now I can copy paste this code and change it because we need to check if we have an active day and we have meetings, so length is bigger than 0. Then instead we want to have here a for loop. So here we're rendering a meeting of our meetings, and it is our active day meetings. Then we just render every single meeting, which is a string. Let's check if it's working. I'm reloading the page. Here we see please select a day. We're selecting the day without meetings. We're getting no planned meetings today. We're selecting the day with meetings, and we're rendering the list of our meetings here on the right. One more feature that we're missing is highlighting of our active date. This is why here we must go to our HTML and scroll to our calendar grid cell. Here we have just a single class, calendar grid cell. We need one more. First of all, calendar grid cell active. And here we want to apply the logic when this specific cell is active. So we need to compare two strings, and we can do that by active day with round brackets, and it can be null, so question mark to ISO date. And now it is a string, and we're comparing it with our day of month dot to ISO date with round brackets, which actually means we're applying this class if both dates are the same. Let's have a look. I'm clicking on the 5th, and now 5th is being highlighted because this is our active day. Another problem is that we're not graying out dates from the previous and next month. We can easily do that also here by applying a class calendar grid cell inactive, and here we can check that our day of month dot month does not equal first day of month dot month, which essentially means it does not belong to the current month. Let's have a look. Now these all days are grayed out. And the last feature that we're missing is go to today, go to previous, go to next. And before we will apply click events to the controls, let's create these three functions. So first of all here, let's create go to previous month. And the only thing that this function must do, it simply must update the first day of the month. So here we can write this dot first day of the month dot set, and we're setting inside first day of the month dot minus, and here we want to make -1 month. Now we can copy paste this code and do exactly the same to go to next. And actually this is a typo in the word month. So here we also do a set, but instead of minus we're doing plus. And the last one here is go to today. So let's copy paste it and change to go to today. And we're setting inside first day of the month, instead of all this code, this dot today with round brackets dot start of month. So we successfully implemented these three functions. Now we must bind them to our controls. So first of all is click on our previous. Here will be go to previous month. Then we have today. Let's apply here a click. Go to today with round brackets. And the last one here is a click. Go to next. Let's check if it's working. I'm jumping to the browser. I'm clicking previous. Now we see March. I'm jumping next. We see April again. And when I'm changing the month to another and clicking today, I am in our current month. So this is how you can implement an interactive calendar inside Angular without additional libraries. But you might be interested how we can implement exactly the same calendar inside React to compare the amount of code. And I already covered that in this video, so don't forget to check it out.